Let's talk Tanya for the 7th of Elul. We are right now in the middle of chapter 11 of Eirev Rav. The larger topic is how to be able to maintain a state of joy and tranquility while enduring hardship, suffering, pain. And yesterday we gave one perspective on it, and the Alter Rebbe is going to take us today a little deeper. The Alter Rebbe takes us back to the story of when we left Egypt. We know when the Jewish people left Egypt, we were joined by what was called the Eirev Rav. The Torah describes it as the mixed multitudes, members of other nations who joined the Jewish people at that time. Now, as we know, that the motives behind these people was not exactly the purest motives. They had ulterior motives. The Jewish people at that time, they were the winning bandwagon. People were looking to jump aboard. This was a people who had just, their God had just vanquished the superpower of the time, 10 plagues, the splitting of the sea. And they were like, wow, let's join these people. Life is going to be great. And what happens is that when the Jewish people are in the desert, every time that they hit a snag or there's some sort of real or perceived problem or trouble, the Eirev Rav are the first ones to raise up their hands and say, okay, that's it, time to go back to Egypt. Why is that? Because they didn't sign up for the difficulties. They signed up for the good times. They weren't in it for the real reasons. The Alter Rebbe challenges us, and the Alter Rebbe asks us, the Alter Rebbe asks each and every one of us, are you from the Eirev Rav? Is that what your relationship with God is all about? Is it for the good times? And the moment things get tough, that's it? You're jumping ship? After all, we're in a relationship with God, and we accept everything. Whatever God gives us, we understand its goodness, we understand it's for our best, but more importantly, it's not even about that. In fact, Alter Rebbe uses very harsh words over here. He says someone who's in the relationship with God, and it's all about themselves and their personal benefit, it would have been better for that person had he or she not been created. This is what we're put down over here, to experience this relationship with God, an unconditional relationship with God. And Alter Rebbe concludes this letter by saying that if a person is able to pass this test, and a person is able to experience the difficulties of life, the suffering of life, and not question and not doubt, and remain happy and trusting in God, then what happens is the suffering, the pain goes away, the person passes the test, and everything becomes good in a revealed way. Everything is good, but then that goodness becomes revealed. Now, this chapter, not an easy chapter. The two big ideas, one is focusing on the idea of perpetual creation. We spoke about that yesterday. And the idea that everything that comes from God is good. After all, He's recreating the world at every moment. Then the next idea, which we discussed today, the idea of being in a relationship with God, a pure relationship, one that is not based on ulterior motives. And some of us might think, yeah, that's very high spiritual stuff. It's not for me. So it has been noted that the Alter Rebbe begins this chapter with the words lahaskilcha bina, which means to give you to understand wisdom. But the word lahaskilcha is said in the singular, not lahaskilchem, which would mean in the plural, you in the plural sense, but lahaskilcha, you in the singular sense. Which means that Alter Rebbe is addressing this chapter to every single one of us individually. And the Alter Rebbe is telling us, no, this is not too difficult for you. Now, obviously, when we're in one place and you want to get to a place which is very far from where we are, we start by taking one step and then another step and another step. But this is a journey that is incumbent upon every single one of us to make individually, to try to make the shift. The shift number one of, instead of seeing things as bad, understanding that everything comes ultimately from God's goodness, a goodness which is so great that we might not be able to relate to it. And step number two is examining our relationship with God and asking ourselves, am I a Jew or am I Eirev Rav? Am I in it for the real reasons or not? With this, we have concluded this letter. Tomorrow we start chapter 12, another letter, and we are back tomorrow to the topic of tzedakah, of charity.